on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son, still had me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the debut episode of The People's Take. I'm your host, LJ Harrell, for this week, and joining me today is my friend Connor. Connor, you came up with the name The People's Take. I'm excited for us to embark on this new journey, as we are going to talk professional wrestling, more in terms of the WWE, but Connor, how are you doing today?
I'm traveling for work, so I'm 3 hours away from home doing a podcast, so it's fun. It's fun.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with traveling. Get away from home for a little bit, get away from the family, and then so when you get home, the girlfriend's going to be more excited to see you. Exactly,
I agree.
All right, so a couple weeks ago, we approached the rest of the team. Me and you, you've been tweeting out about wrestling, and I usually do too. And I noticed it. We got to talking, and we thought, look, we know we're a Philadelphia-based podcast, but let's expand it. Let's talk about other things. Let's try to broaden the horizons for the Always Next Year podcast team. And wrestling, even if people don't understand why other grown men may watch it, it's a big community. There are a lot of wrestling fans out there. The WWE alone has over a million, probably way over a million subscribers when it comes to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. This is such a huge community, and I think this is going to be something that me and you will be able to carry on for the ANYP team, because this is going to be a big thing that we can get other wrestling fans to get involved in.
Absolutely, and to touch on your point, I don't know where I saw this. I think it was on a WWE show, but they actually announced that they had just surpassed 1 billion followers on.
I know it was one or the other.
Yeah, it was a billion. And it was across 3 platforms, but still, you get your duplicates, but still, you're probably looking at 300 million, 400 million followers. So it's pretty impressive. Massive community. So what better way to reach out and broaden our Always Next Year podcast family than to the wrestling community?
Definitely. And the point of this, the points of the show early on are our People's Take segments are going to be before and after pay-per-views. And with WWE Super ShowDown, which is taking place in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia on Friday, we decided what a better time to start this. They're claiming that this is going to be a WrestleMania type event. Looking at the card, it's a little iffy if that's what it's going to be, but I think this is going to be good for us. We can give our predictions. We call it the People's Take. How did you come up with the name People's Take, Connor? Tell the people how you were able to come up with it.
Well, I came up with the People's Take based on the People's Elbow, the Rock's signature move there. And then just there's so much you see all over Twitter that the biggest thing to improve the WWE community is listen to the fans. The biggest thing is just listening to the fans and listening to their takes. And obviously the WWE listened and giving Becky 2 belts and Kofi Kingston championships and stuff. So it came just the People's, because everyone knows The Rock, world famous actor now, and then the Take. So the People's Take. Simple.
Exactly. We want to. The WWE universe wants to have a say in the storylines. They want to have a say in just what goes on within WWE. With which we're going to get into with the competition that WWE is going to be facing, this summer and going into the fall. They better listen to their fans, because if they don't, they could be in trouble. All right, so let's start off. How did you become a wrestling fan? How long have you been a wrestling fan? Your favorite wrestler, your least favorite wrestler? Just give a little background to our listeners, just so we can have an understanding.
Absolutely. So I became a wrestling fan during the tail end of the Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit time, more or less the Eddie Guerrero time right before he passed.
Hmm.
I saw it on TV and I was young. I'm going to say 12, 13 years old. And I was intrigued. And my parents said, don't watch it. So what does a curious child do? Well, they're going to watch it.
Exactly.
So I decided to watch it, and me and my brother watched it, and we kind of mocked it, and we wrestled, and like we just kind of wrestled and threw each other around and tried suplexing and all that fun stuff on a bed, a lot, so we didn't like kill each other,
Yeah.
and let our parents know that we were watching it. But that's kind of where it all came about. I used to watch it with my neighbor. We used to play poker. We had poker nights. I know I was young gambling child here, but used to have poker nights at my neighbor's house, and me and my dad and my neighbor would play poker and we'd watch wrestling. And this is after they accepted that rejecting it was just going to make me want to watch it more. So we got to that point, and so. And then my least favorites, Brock Lesnar is my absolute least favorite. His personality, his mentality when it comes to being a champion. I've never liked Brock Lesnar. I love Paul Heyman. I love what Paul Heyman brings to Brock Lesnar, but I hate Brock Lesnar himself. And I have never liked Roman Reigns either, even after everything that happened with the cancer. Completely respect him and everything he went through. That's massive. But it's just his limited move set and his limited skill set. I just can't get behind Roman Reigns as far as that goes. My favorites from day one, I was a massive Randy Orton fan. I don't honestly cannot say why. Really, I love the RKO. I have an Out of Nowhere T-shirt, the one where the family's lined up and the last person in the family's getting RKO'd. I just love the RKO, one of my favorite finishing moves in all of wrestling. And I have more recently become a massive Miz fan. So those would be my two least favorites, my two favorites, and how I became a wrestling fan.
Oh man. So I've been a fan roughly 20, probably 25 years. Just like back in school, it's been a guilty pleasure of mine. When I was in middle school, my best friend in middle school, me and him used to pretend like we were the Dudley Boys. I was Bubba Ray and he was Devon. And we would just always do the fake 3D through tables on people in middle school. So that was always fun. I went to WrestleMania 29 at MetLife. Was that 5 years ago now? When John Cena beat The Rock in the main event. That was my first ever wrestling event going to. That was a lot of fun. Last summer, I went to SummerSlam. We did it for one of my buddies' bachelor party. I planned it. I was like, look, SummerSlam, we're all wrestling fans. We're going. We went to Brooklyn for the weekend, and we had a blast down there. Going to SummerSlam was fun. I've been to Raws and SmackDown in Philly. Being able to go to the events are fun. They are different than watching on TV, obviously, because the commercials when you're watching on TV, but when you're there, when they go to commercials because kind of the pace slows down. But going to the events, they're a lot of fun.
I'm jealous because being from New Brunswick, all we get up here is like a random house show here, a random house show there. Never had the chance, but I get together with 5 of my buddies every pay-per-view event night, and we watch it together, and we've always thought about, like, what about WrestleMania? What about a trip to Mania? What about a trip to SummerSlam? What about, like, thinking about those things? So I guarantee the day will come.
I would 100% recommend that. Philly is getting the Extreme Rules pay-per-view in July, so I'm debating on going to that. My favorite wrestler, I was always a Stone Cold Steve Austin fan. He's my favorite wrestler of all time.
Classic.
He was the best. My favorite wrestler for most recent time is John Cena. I don't care what anybody says. I'm a huge John Cena fan. Unlike you, I do like Roman Reigns. I loved the Shield faction. And I just was always a big fan of him. My least favorite wrestler right now is Baron Corbin. I hate how they're shoving Baron Corbin down our throats right now. I cannot stand him. I don't know how he's in the Universal title picture mix. He should not be. It's so frustrating. the storyline they had with him taking Kurt Angle's job as GM of Monday Night Raw, it was just dumb. And he's not even that talented. He's so annoying. I can't stand him. So the fact that Vince and the McMahon family and the creative, they keep shoving him down our throats right now, it's so frustrating. I cannot stand it. I just can't wait for Seth Rollins to
stomp him into the mat.
Oh, he's gonna stomp him into the mat. He's gonna stomp him muddle. He's gonna curb stomp him 3 or 4 times, I hope. He's really, and also another wrestler I really don't like right now is Andrade. I can't stand him. I'm not a big fan. I know I'm
actually quite surprised by that. I really like what they have in Andrade, but I mean, I guess we haven't seen enough of him to really formulate a true full-on decision in the WWE with what they're going to do with them. But I mean, I don't hate his character by any stretch of the imagination. I actually kind of like the character, and I mean, I'll be interested to see where that goes.
Yeah, and then with him and Zelina Vega, and he's just frustrating. I'm just not a big fan of him. All right, so we kind of got our background into wrestling out of the way. I think we can both agree that, regardless if it's a Monday night, Tuesday night, soon to be Friday nights, or Sunday night when it comes to pay-per-views, our eyes usually get geared towards the television or the network whenever there's WWE programming on. One thing that I want to talk about, actually, before we get to that, who do you think is the best faction in it could be current, it could be in the past, the best faction in wrestling? WCW, WWE, ECW. Who do you think it is? Or who do you think it was?
I'm going DX. I absolutely loved DX and just everything that they stood for, everything they did, even like when they came out there for the Hall of Fame ceremony, the energy they get the crowd in, just you can't help but love that faction and think of everything that they've done for wrestling, especially when you think of Shawn Michaels and Triple H.
I agree. I mean, DX is awesome. At the beginning when NWO first started, like when Hogan and Kevin Nash and Razor Ramon, well, he really wasn't, Scott Hall, when they created the NWO, that really put a fire into the whole Monday Night War scene, because you had the NWO, you had DX on different shows, and they kind of tried to one-up each other, and that was so much fun to watch. And WCW was at its climax when the NWO formed. It got really stale once they had the black and red NWO. Then they had the Latino NWO, and then the BWO. It got old after they had so many offsets of the original NWO. But that original NWO was really good, and they've made watching Monday Nitro made it really fun to watch.
Yeah, and I'm definitely excited to see, I can't remember what they call them, or they're the Four Horsemen in NXT right now, led by Adam Cole. I'm kind of excited to see what they do with them when they bring them up to the WWE, although as of right now, the WWE bringing NXT stars up is all but killing NXT stars' careers. So,
and this is what we're going to get into right now, talking about the WWE and should they be worried about. We're going to talk about AEW, but a lot of the NXT superstars don't want to go to the main roster because of one person, Vince McMahon. Triple H is running NXT right now, and NXT is the best brand that WWE has going. When these superstars get brought up to the main roster, Vince McMahon has no idea what to do with them, and it all comes down to Vince McMahon. He has the last say in what happens with the superstars, and he doesn't like to hear it from anybody if something should be changed up, if a storyline should proceed this way or that way. And if Vince doesn't like it, it's not going to happen, even if it's best for business. That's what's wrong with Raw and SmackDown right now, because it's the Vince McMahon show, and he has no idea what the WWE universe wants to see, or wants to see in terms of character development, in terms of storylines. He is ruining the product, and a lot of people can't wait until the day that Triple H takes over, and he's the man when it comes to Raw and SmackDown.
Absolutely. Like Raw and SmackDown have literally become the Vince McMahon and Shane McMahon show. You see Shane McMahon all too often, and you know what? A lot of people will say that they don't like Shane McMahon on TV. You know, I don't hate it, but I don't like that he is such a presence as a wrestler versus as he could be a manager of kind of like a ringside personality for Drew McIntyre or Elias or whatever. I just don't like his presence as far as being so prominent as a wrestler and as almost a main event wrestler without a main event championship around his waist. And, I mean, Triple H has an amazing product in NXT, like you said. He puts on amazing events every time the takeovers come around. And I think when the time comes to call him up, like you said, Vince McMahon just doesn't know these people's strengths. He doesn't understand why these people are so good in NXT. It's like he doesn't even watch the NXT product. Like, I mean, the biggest example I can think of is Shinsuke Nakamura. He was huge in NXT. They brought him up, and do you ever even hear his name anymore? You barely even hear his name. It's so sad because he had so much talent. He was such a huge part, an integral part of NXT, and he came up. They wanted to push him, and it's like Vince McMahon just didn't know what to do with the character.
Yeah, it's Shinsuke. Samoa Joe, when he first came up, they didn't know what to do with him. That tag team, the Viking Experience, or whatever the heck they're called now.
They have a new name every week. So
exactly. The Heavy Machinery, like, what have they done? They haven't done anything. And you think about it, there's 11 titles in the WWE held by 14 different people, and 14 different superstars, obviously 3 for the 3 tag team belts. But when's the last time we saw the Raw tag team titles? We haven't seen Ryder and Hawkins, I feel like, in a month. Are they ever going to defend the tag team titles?
I was thinking that too. I was thinking about it the other night. I was like, who's the Raw tag team champions? And I'm like, holy crap, it's Ryder and Hawkins. They haven't been there in like ages. Like people were in an uproar that they even won the titles, and now it's like they disappeared off the planet.
I was actually happy they won the titles, and I thought that because I'm not a big Revival fan, I can't stand the Revival, so I was glad that the titles came off of them. But when you think about it, yes, on SmackDown the other night, a Raw superstar is going to be fighting for the SmackDown Women's title. Alexa Bliss, who I love. Alexa Bliss is like my favorite female wrestler, only because she is smoking. But that's just me.
I won't deny that. She's actually my favorite female wrestler going right now. So
I love Alexa Bliss, and I love Bayley too. So them two getting into a match together at Stomping Ground is going to be fun. But and then you have the Usos, who are on Raw, but they've been competing on SmackDown. I know they have this wild card rule, but it's like the WWE doesn't know what to do. It feels like the brand split. They need to end the brand split, which I think is going to happen once SmackDown goes to Fox anyway. They got to find a way to define storylines and let it play out longer than, say, like a week. And then they bypass it and hope that the WWE universe forgets about it. They feel like, oh no, we don't remember that storyline. It's something that didn't happen, and we're just going to go a totally complete direction.
Agreed, and I think there's too much focus on this show coming up on Friday, which as you kind of alluded to, I'm not overly enticed by the card either. But I mean, they seem to focus on it. I noticed someone tweeted today about the fact that I think the tweet was, have you noticed that there's less and less matches every week? Like, they released last week on SmackDown, they had a Randy Orton Triple H promo that lasted like 6 minutes.
Yeah.
It was a video package that lasted like 6 minutes. I was sitting through it on my television just skipping because I record because I work early in the morning, so I didn't actually watch SmackDown. I usually watch it the day after, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, holy crap, this promo package is huge. It ended up being like 6 minutes long, and it's so true. I don't know if it's just the fact that it's the Super ShowDown that they have coming on, and they really want to push that, and they're really trying to push that, and that's why this wildcard rule has the same 10 superstars week in and week out, or if it's just that this is just how stale the WWE product truly is.
So after AEW put on their Double or Nothing show, it's coming up on 2 weeks now, and the first half of that, I didn't watch it, but I was getting I saw reports going across Twitter and whatnot. The first half of the show was kind of sloppy, but then the second half of the show got really good. And Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes fought, and they formed the tag teams to go up against the Young Bucks at their next pay-per-view. And then when Jon Moxley, formerly known as Dean Ambrose, showed up at the end of the Chris Jericho Kenny Omega match, like everybody was hype. Everybody was popping and marking out about Double or Nothing. Monday night comes, and it wasn't this past Monday, it was the Monday 2 Mondays ago. Monday night comes, and WWE had to have known that AEW put on a heck of a show. So you would think that WWE would come out and want to put on one of the best, showings of Monday Night Raw. They had one fight in the first hour, and it was Shane McMahon against Roman Reigns' cousin. And it wasn't even like a real fight. And I was sitting there and I was like, what is WWE doing? They have a competitor now. And and the difference between AEW and other companies is AEW has a backing of a billionaire. They have the Jacksonville Jaguars owner in their back pocket. They're not going away anytime soon if they run this right. And if WWE does not pick it up, Vince McMahon is going to be out, which nobody could have foreseen that happening in, probably ever.
Agreed. And you hear about I read reports after the Jon Moxley interviews, which I listened to the one with Jericho, and I've started listening to the one with, I think his name's Keller, another wrestling reporter. And you think when you have competition, that competition is good, and that's going to make you look in on yourself and improve the product that you're putting out there. Instead, all the reports are that Vince McMahon is just fuming angry. Instead of working on improving the product and realizing that there's a problem, he's just getting fuming mad over what Moxley, Dean Ambrose, is saying and the secrets he's letting out. You didn't think that Dean Ambrose was going to leave the WWE, become Jon Moxley, and not go take interviews and start talking about what he hated about the WWE. You can't expect that. And the same thing, I noticed it's Mike Kanellis, I think is his name.
Oh, yeah, Maria Kanellis and Mike Kanellis.
Yeah, and they're all over Twitter about, because they just posted, looks like Tony Nese has a new number one contender, and they're all over the WWE saying we've been here all along, and it's a little too late because their contract's up soon. That's the type of stuff. Jon Moxley is starting to turn the WWE against the WWE, some of the superstars, because they're seeing the success that you can have in something like the AEW. So you would think that this competition would make Vince McMahon look in on himself, but he's just getting pissed off, and he's not putting out any better product.
No, and at the AEW show, the point in time in which you knew that AEW was going to pretty much aiming at WWE was in Cody Rhodes took a sledgehammer. They had a throne on the set, took a sledgehammer and smashed the throne, and everybody knows what that interprets. That's a shot at Triple H, because Triple H, the King of Kings, and that one WrestleMania he came out on a throne and had it if Vince McMahon, because I think everybody else in WWE notices or sees what is coming. If Vince McMahon can't see what's coming, he needs to relinquish some of this power that he has, because like we mentioned before, Triple H has the best thing going in WWE right now, and that's NXT. He needs to have more of a say what happens in Raw and SmackDown, or even Paul Heyman, because Paul Heyman is one of the brightest guys when it comes to the wrestling industry, when it comes to putting storylines together, when it comes to talent. He needs to have more of a say in what happens at these shows or on these programs, because if not, come October, when it's going to be Raw on Monday, SmackDown on Friday, AEW is going to be on Tuesday nights on TNT. You know, they could take away. Now, it'll be tough to take away the WWE fan base, but they're going to get a lot of ratings. And it's going to be a ratings war, just like the Monday Night Wars when WCW and WWF were going at it. We could see another one of them, and I don't know if Vince is going to be able to survive it this time.
No, I agree. I think that this is an opportunity for the WWE to open their eyes and see the creative concerns and the lack of freedom in their performers and the real need for change. And I think, like you said, it is going to create a war. And luckily, they're not on the same nights. And like you said, the AEW won't take. But like, as you can see in the wrestling community on Twitter, it's not about taking. They want to see all products succeed. That's a great thing about the wrestling community. They want to see all products succeed, but they want WWE to step up what they're bringing to the table because of AEW. They don't want to see them just kind of continuing with the old way, saying, we're not going to lose our viewers. We're not too worried. Well, the viewer ratings continue to decline on Monday and Tuesday nights with Raw and SmackDown Live. So clearly, it's a lack of interest from the fans, too. AEW doesn't even have to steal. There's just a straight lack of interest.
Well, and you brought something up a couple weeks ago on Twitter that AEW shouldn't try to outdo WWE at what WWE does. And I think that's a good point. AEW wants to be it wants to be straight wrestling. Be the best wrestling company you can be. If WWE wants to be sports entertainment, be the best sports entertainment company you can be. And right now, WWE is not putting their best foot forward.
No, absolutely. They got the WWE you have to set yourself apart. You don't see any other company trying to compete with the WWE, and I don't think the AEW came out it's more of a rebellion towards the WWE, but they're not directly saying we're competing with you. It's kind of like a rebellion against the way the WWE is because the AEW stars don't like how the WWE was run.
I agree a little bit, but I do think it is, when it comes to Cody Rhodes, I think it is a shot at the WWE. All we want as wrestling fans is the best product out there. You know, I don't want to have to wait an hour and a half into Monday Night Raw to see a real wrestling match. Like, I know, I understand that you're going to have people come out, they're going to do a promo, but I don't want to have to wait until the 9 o'clock hour to see, you know, AJ Styles have a match against Seth Rollins. You know, I know that's a pay-per-view quality match, but still, you kind of get what I'm getting at. You know, I want to start from the 8 o'clock. If you're going to do a promo, but then I want to see wrestling. I want to see storylines progress, and then I want to see them and it's not like the past when you can progress a storyline for months at a time, but I don't want to see it just end after a week and then you expect us, the fans, to forget about it.
Yeah, because I'm kind of the point that all this Super Showdown build-up is built up for this event, and then it's just going to come crashing down. You're not going to see any of this event really carry on afterwards. And that's the thing. I feel like that's how they've ruined the Super Showdown.
Well, half of the card I agree with. Like, we're going to get into it in a little bit. Like, the Goldberg Undertaker, we're not going to see again. Like, this is just a Super Showdown match. Triple H Randy Orton, we're probably not going to see again. It's just a Super Showdown match. But some of the other matches, you could see those storylines play out a little bit. But you're right. Since I would say over the last 2 to 3 weeks, they've tried to build up this Super Showdown, and I don't think they've done a good job at it.
No, I don't think they have either. I mean, like, look at just like I said about SmackDown Live, that's a 2-hour show, 30 minutes of commercials, and then you use a 6-minute video package for Triple H and Randy Orton versus cutting a 6-minute promotion or promo, which they did do on Raw, which was actually hilarious. I actually loved that promo. I loved what Randy Orton said, the back and forth. That's what you want to see, not a 6-minute video package.
Yeah. So when it comes to Raw, when it comes to SmackDown Live, which show do you think is the better show?
I think before they started the Super Showdown build-up, I thought SmackDown Live was headed in a good direction. I liked where SmackDown Live was going, and you could tell there was a focus on getting that right before the move to Fox. But, I mean, the whole lead up to Super Showdown, it's the same 10 to 15 stars every week. So they're basically the same show.
Yeah, I've always thought SmackDown, since they did the brand split, SmackDown's been the better show. I think the fact that it's 2 hours makes it better. I think 3 hours is too long for Monday Night Raw. They drag things on so much, and when you get to that third hour, when the third hour or the last hour is supposed to be the best hour, that's supposed to be when you're going to get your main event, you're going to see all the stars. It just it drags on way too long. If WWE was smart, they would push that back to 2 hours like it used to be when it was 9 to 11, and the show's storylines, it was all better. But right now, SmackDown Live is easily the better of the two, and NXT is the best, as I mentioned before, the best thing going on in WWE.
Absolutely. I mean, the only thing that keeps me intrigued on Monday Night Raw is the Firefly Funhouse. That's about the only thing I sit there waiting for, because I think that's one of the best things they've done.
I'm so indifferent when it comes to that. I don't know how to feel about that, and I know that that's all Bray Wyatt, which is good because I wouldn't want Vince McMahon to touch that. Because Bray Wyatt, as much I might not be a fan of him, he is one very intelligent guy, especially when it comes to wrestling, and they just need to let his creative side go. Let him do him, and don't mess with it at all.
Absolutely. I love his creative side. I love what he had going on before his injury, and injuries just have done Bray Wyatt in. And I think if he can stay injury free and really run with this character he's got going, I think he's going to have a really nice run coming up once they get him back in the ring. And I mean, the show's kind of weird, the Firefly Funhouse, but I mean, I like it. Like you said, I love his creative side. I like that they're letting him run with it. And I like that they see that he's running with something that's successful, and Vince McMahon hasn't squashed it or stepped in on it yet.
Yeah. Once we know that ends, we know why, and it'll be because of Vince. Now, my final question in terms of this is, should WWE, I know we didn't really talk about AEW, and we're not really gonna focus in on them because we're focusing in on WWE in terms of the people's take, but should they be concerned with AEW going forward? Even though AEW's only put on one show, but they have a couple pay-per-views coming up before they kick off in October on weekly television.
I'm going to say no. I don't think that there's a concern. I think the concern should come from the types of things that the former wrestlers are saying and what the former wrestlers are letting out. So letting people, there's more of an openness to what the WWE is and the product that they're giving to the people. Like I said, I think the competition's good, and I think it's a good opportunity for the WWE to really look in on themselves and improve their product. So I don't think there's a concern. It's all in the way that Vince McMahon reacts to what's going on between WWE versus AEW.
Yeah, I agree. And AEW is the hot thing going right now, but they've only had one pay-per-view. How are they going to go about a quality show when they're doing it weekly? That's going to be the test for them. And if they can, keep up what they did at Double or Nothing on a weekly basis, then WWE should be worried. But until we get to that point, while there may be a little bit of competition, you're right. It's all down what the John Moxleys are saying, what Cody Rhodes, Dustin Rhodes, even Jim Ross, what they could say about Vince McMahon, what they could say about the WWE and the culture. Because if WWE does not contain that, Fox is paying $1 billion to get SmackDown on Friday nights. Do you think Fox is going to want to give that big check to Vince McMahon if the product is still as bad as it is and their ratings are going down the toilet? No. So they need to figure it out and figure it out quick.
Agreed, and I think that the biggest concern is what those people are saying, because then you look at Maria and Mike. You look at, I don't know if you've seen EC3 on TV.
Oh, yeah.
He looks pissed. He does not look happy. That's a man ready to vent and let things out, just like Maria and Mike are. And all these contracts are coming up, and a lot of these people are now resigning. Mm-hmm. And then they're starting to vent, and they're starting to use social media. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to get out there, and their story's just going to keep growing and snowballing. So I think that's the concern, not AEW.
Yeah, I do think one of the that's one of the funniest things, at least going on in WWE right now, is R-Truth with the 24/7 championship. I think R-Truth is the perfect person for that 24/7 championship. It's hilarious the way him and Carmella go around. I also do think that before it's all said and done, Carmella's going to pin R-Truth for the title. I just feel like that's going to happen because they'll eventually allow the female wrestlers to get involved in it. But the way he just goes running around the entire arena and has all the, quote unquote jobbers following him around and trying to get that title, I think he's the perfect person to have that title. And I hope they allow him to hold on to it for a while before they figure out a way to screw that up somehow.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I love that. Like when Cesaro pulled the table out and he was right on the table there.
Monday Night Raw.
Hilarious. Like the fact that he's able to find different ways every time to just catch your attention, be like, holy shit, there's R-Truth. And then suddenly everyone's going after his European, quote unquote, championship. I mean, I love it. I think it's great. And I agree. I think it's a good chance to really push the intergender stuff and have Carmella or have anyone step in and pin him like that. I mean, and like that WWE on Twitter when Jinder Mahal pinned him at the golf course, just great. Using the social media putting it out there. I love it.
My only thing, I thought that was funny over the weekend when they were on the golf course, but why was Jinder Mahal in his wrestling tights? Why wasn't he dressed? Like, who walks around and just on a golf course in their wrestling tights?
First of all, I see all these comments and I'm like, so you guys think the weirdest thing is this guy coming up dressed as a wrestler, not the fact that he's dragging a referee dressed in his referee outfit to a golf course on an off day? You think the weirdest thing about that picture is Jinder Mahal, who, yes, is 3/4 naked on a golf course pinning a guy? Absolutely, that is still outrageous too. But that's great. That's the type of stuff that WWE needs to entice the fans.
I definitely agree with that. All right, so let's move on. Our inner segment bit that we're going to do during the People's Take. Eventually, I know I'm hosting this first show, but eventually, Connor, you're going to take over as the lead host for the People's Take. You came up with a what if scenario. So we each pick 3 what ifs. It could be from present day WWE. It could be from yesteryear WWE. And we'll each say our 3. We'll go back and forth, and we'll discuss for about a minute when it comes to each scenario. So you give us your first scenario.
Okay, my first what if scenario, and I kept it all to the present day. It was what if they ran with Big O? I thought Big O was one of the best, most creative and captivating things that SmackDown had going, and they cut it off way too soon. I think they should have ran with Big O to SummerSlam and then have the turn at SummerSlam or leading into SummerSlam. I thought they had such a great thing going with Big O while Big E was out. It was hilarious. When I tuned in that first episode, I could not stop laughing when they first brought Big O into the picture. I did not see it coming. I thought it was great, and I think they really could have ran with it a bit longer and brought somebody else into the title picture for a couple months leading into SummerSlam. So that's my first what if.
I actually agree with you on that. I thought that they were going to run with that a little bit longer, and having them do the pancake challenge and then doing Big E's and when he screams his entrance. I thought that was great, and I agree with you. They should have went a little longer, took that to Extreme Rules or took it to SummerSlam, and then had him turn and go heel. But yeah, that's a good one. My first one is this one went back to what if Vince never bought WCW? Would the Monday Night Wars have continued? Would the Goldbergs and the Stings, would they ever been to the WWE and gotten into the WWE Hall of Fame? I remember, going back on the network, I remember that night when they had Shane McMahon I think it was in Florida, and they had him up and he said, yeah, there's a McMahon's name on the contract that says Shane McMahon. I bought WCW, and then they did the whole Alliance versus WWE thing. But, could WCW possibly have found a way to get money from somewhere else, to get backing from somewhere else, and keep the Monday Night Wars going?
That's definitely a good one. I really like that one. It's something that it's not the first time I've heard it. I mean, you just never know with those wars and what was gonna come of a lot of those wrestlers, of the product, everything. There's so many what ifs tied into just that one thing.
Yeah.
My second, I stuck present as well. I stuck most of these present. What if the Miz and Shane McMahon tag team stayed together?
I actually thought that they were going to stay together a little bit longer than they did. I knew they were going to break up. I knew that was destined to happen, but I thought that they would have been tag team a little bit longer. And not, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was shocked that the Usos beat them at the time because was it Jimmy had just gotten arrested? And usually when that happens, you're in the doghouse for a couple weeks.
Agreed. Me and my friend discussed it a bunch. It was like usually like that type of person, they get thrown in the doghouse, like you said. I thought the Usos were going to disappear for a while, but immediately, bam, back on TV and getting a title run. I was like, this is interesting. But definitely my big thing was like, what if they had a tag team championship run? What if they kept it going? Would the tag team championships remain relevant, although they ended up around the waists of Daniel Bryan, who obviously is making it extremely relevant as he does with everything else. And it definitely, the big thing here for me was avoid having Shane McMahon all over Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I just cannot stand having Shane McMahon all over Raw and SmackDown and going between the two shows, and just, I don't hate the idea of Elias and Drew McIntyre being together and having this really forceful tag team. I just hate the idea of having Shane McMahon being the centerpiece, always talking, always wrestling, always just being at the forefront.
I agree with you. I think it was after WrestleMania and all the McMahons, they all came out with Triple H and they said that we're going to give you, the fans, a say in what happens. I feel like they've done the opposite. We see Shane McMahon every week, and Vince McMahon is at first he took, this was before WrestleMania, but he took the championship opportunities away from Becky, and he took the championship opportunity away from Kofi before they had to earn, and they really had to earn their way back into the championship picture. So I definitely agree with you in that, and just trying to keep the McMahons off TV and keep them from storylines, and allowing the other wrestlers and the other superstars to have a run, to have a storyline, to actually to be on TV.
Agreed, because right now Shane McMahon takes up, like, I'd probably say about a half hour on each show every week, at the same time as they are killing the mid-card. How often do you see Finn Balor in the Intercontinental Championship? Look how sad and pathetic that storyline is with the United States Championship right now. Mm-hmm. Rey Mysterio gets hurt. Samoa Joe just takes the title back. That's it. That's all.
Yep.
That's so ill thought out and just lacks creativity.
I agree. So my second what if scenario, what if Seth Rollins never turned on the Shield? How much longer could they have gone? Like, I know they got back together, but that original run that the Shield had, they were turning into one of the most dominant factions in WWE history. And, after they beat Evolution, he just turned. Like, he joined, the corporate side, and turned his back on Reigns and Ambrose. I was a big fan, with them together, and them, running roughshod over the corporate structure that Triple H at the time was doing with Evolution and everything. And then, of course, he said he had a plan B, and then that's when Rollins took the steel chair and just broke it over both Reigns and Ambrose. So that's a what if scenario, my second what if scenario.
I like that one too. That's a really good one. My last one is, what if Brock Lesnar never won the Money in the Bank? Obviously, we wouldn't have the Brock party, which is actually fun. It's nice to see a fun side of Brock Lesnar coming in.
Yes, I agree.
It's a side you never really thought you'd see of Brock Lesnar, where he's actually, talking and showing up on shows and dancing and having fun. It's good to see. I don't deny that. But there was a lot of talk about going with Ricochet, which brings up a whole different what if, because Ricochet is not someone I even expected to be taking the Money in the Bank. But I do really like Ricochet, and I do think he's worth a push. And as much as 3 straight weeks of Cesaro and Ricochet is kind of annoying and tedious, their matches are great. I think they have some great chemistry, and they put on a really good match and a really good show. So I think the big what if for pushing Ricochet is I think Ricochet can really push some of these superstars to their limits, as he's doing with Cesaro. So my second what if is what if Brock Lesnar never won Money in the Bank?
Yeah, and he's showed up more since he's gotten that Money in the Bank than when he had the WWE or the Universal title, which is really sad.
You know what? It actually makes me happy, though, because when he won the Money in the Bank and I was watching a pay-per-view with my buddies, I said he's going to ruin the value of the Money in the Bank briefcase, just like he did the Universal Championship when he only defended it every second pay-per-view or even every major pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He kept some worth to the Money in the Bank briefcase, and he brought a bit of humor to the Money in the Bank briefcase.
Yeah, I agree. And, now that I'm pretty sure he's officially done with UFC. So, and with his new contract, he's going to be around a little bit more in terms of being at shows, at Raws with the WWE. So I agree with you. It's the most character he's had in a long time. So if he can just keep up with it, now who knows if he's for sure going to cash in on at WWE Super ShowDown, but it keeps us on the edge of our seats in terms of, he could have easily cashed it in on Monday night because he demolished Seth Rollins. He broke 2 steel chairs over him, gave him the F5 outside the ring. He did what he wanted to do and could have easily cashed in. But it's keeping us on the edge of our seats in terms of that storyline.
Agreed, and I can't wait. I mean, as we get to the Super Showdown predictions, I think I have him cashing in on Friday like he said he would. So, I mean, he's kind of keeping you on edge, but he's like, when they said he was going to cash in on Monday, you're sitting there, oh my God, he's cashing in, and say just, like you said, beats the living shit out of Seth Rollins. Yeah. So, I mean, he's keeping things interesting with the Money in the Bank briefcase, which I didn't think he would. So, I say my what if is what if he never won, but at the same time, it's kind of a good thing that he won.
Yeah. All right, so my final what if is, what if John Cena never debuted against Kurt Angle? Would he have become a 16-time champion? He got recognition that night from Angle, from Undertaker, from Vince McMahon. That's the starting point for when John Cena turned into John Cena the man. And, I think it was WrestleMania when he came out as the old school John Cena, when he came out to his Word Life theme song. I was so happy because I've wanted to see that for the longest time. Again, I'm a huge John Cena fan. And I like his gimmick now, but his old gimmick when he was the rap thug star, that was fun. He had character, he did raps, it was all fun. What if he never did debut? Would we have seen that John Cena? And would WWE have given that mantle to somebody else? And who would that somebody else be?
I agree. When he came out at WrestleMania and I saw some people tweet about it, why didn't they run with it a bit more? I agree. When he came out as the Doctor of Thugonomics, I thought that was great. And you definitely have a really great what if. My what ifs are very present day, but your what ifs have such crazy. So I really like that. I personally like that one, and I definitely think they should have ran with it a bit more instead of bringing all these older guys like the Goldberg and the Undertaker match. Why not run with an old character that people loved and related to? Well, I say related to, but I mean just loved in the Doctor of Thugonomics.
Well, I honestly think, I know he hasn't been back and he's kind of a part-timer, but it would not shock me, which this is something that we'll get into in months as SmackDown starts to go to Fox in October. But I think it wouldn't surprise me if that first October SmackDown show on Friday night on Fox, you see John Cena, and he could come out as the Doctor of Thugonomics. You never know.
Agreed.
All right, so now we're going to move on to WWE Super ShowDown. They're claiming that it's going to be a WrestleMania type show. Again, earlier in the show, I said I'm not feeling it, but who knows? You never know. So we're going to give our predictions. And again, this is wrestling, so we can say whatever the hell we want to say because it's all storyline. So, are you ready, Connor?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's start with Lars Sullivan versus the Lucha House Party. I know we don't really have to go too in-depth in this one because this is kind of an easy one, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is a laughable one. It's clearly going to be Lars Sullivan completely destroying the Lucha House Party. It's time for the WWE. They've built a monster. Find some competition. Get them in there. This is just a sign of them killing the mid-card. You have Lars Sullivan week in and week out just destroying a bunch of 150-pound luchas. Let's get him some competition. Let's get hopefully the Super Showdown match is finally a turning point where we can actually see Lars Sullivan becoming the monster against, true competition.
And it's also another showing of Vince McMahon not knowing what to do with somebody that was succeeding down in NXT. But I'm also taking Lars Sullivan. This should be a relatively quick match, especially after what happened on, I think it was Monday night, when the Lucha House Party kind of had the upper hand, quote unquote, on Lars Sullivan. Next, the 50-man Battle Royal. Just give me a name, who you think is going to win it. We don't even know who the 50 that are going to be in it, but you kind of assume that those that don't have matches, it's going to be a bunch of the mid-card guys, most likely.
Absolutely. I put two names down for this because there's 50 men, so why not give a bit more of a chance? I put Ricochet and The Miz because I think the WWE really likes Ricochet, and I think they're really going to give him a push eventually. What better way to push than winning the biggest battle royal in the WWE history? And then The Miz, because I love The Miz.
I put down Ricochet myself. Again, I thought this is where we were going to have some differing opinions, man. I put down Ricochet.
We could choose. There's a 50-man battle royal, but there's like 60, 70 guys to choose from, and we picked the same guy.
Exactly. And when it comes to The Miz, I'm indifferent when it comes to, now watching Miz and Mrs. He's hilarious on that show with him and Maurice. He's funny. I'm not the biggest Miz fan in the world, but I respect what he's had to go through. Coming from being at Real World, I think it was, to being a WWE superstar and having to fight his way to get respectability. But I'm still not the biggest Miz fan. But yeah, I'm going to go with Ricochet, and you got Ricochet or Miz. Elias might even be able to be thrown into that maybe. Who knows? But I'm going to stick with Ricochet. This next match is kind of probably also a given. Braun Strowman against Bobby Lashley.
I think this one could be interesting. I'm not necessarily sold it finishes fairly. I think this one could end up in a disqualification or just two guys literally beating the living shit out of each other. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to go Braun Strowman.
Yeah, I'm also going Braun Strowman. It's going to be a very physical. They did their arm wrestling match on Monday night. Was it Raw? Yeah, Monday Night Raw. And Braun won, but then, Lashley threw the powder at his eyes and kind of got the upper hand on him. But, for somebody as big as Braun Strowman is, he's an athletic freak. When he goes outside the ring and runs around and does that shoulder block on people, nobody that big should run that fast.
No, that man should be like on an NFL team. He could probably be killing people in the NFL.
I agree with you. All right, so the next match, it's going to be the Demon King, and he is coming out as the Demon King, Finn Balor, against Andrade.
I have Finn Balor retaining. I have the undefeated streak of the Demon continuing. I don't think the Super Showdown is where you end the streak. I understand this built up of as if this is like WrestleMania, going to be WrestleMania-like. I just don't see this as the event that Finn Balor's Demon King streak, winning streak, come to an end. So
yeah,
Andrade gets it.
Yep. Well, I agree with you that the Demon King is going to win. And you're right. You said it earlier. they haven't done anything with Finn Balor. They haven't done anything with his IC championship. They haven't done anything with the tag team championships. They got to find a way to get these guys involved. And
I mean, in his defense, the crashes that man took at Money in the Bank, he deserved a few weeks off.
That's true. He did. He went through the ladder, right? Was it him or was that Ricochet?
He went through the ladder. He got suplexed on the ladder. There was about 3 points where went on a ladder. And I guess that's a good reason to give a guy a few weeks off. But they definitely got to start rolling more with that IC title after the Super Show.
I agree. The next match, which I think, honestly, this might be the best match on the card. Triple H against Randy Orton. You know, the two former Evolution mates. This could go either way.
Agreed. And as much as I love Randy Orton, I ended up going Triple H on this one just based on what happened at WrestleMania with Batista as well. I just don't see Triple H losing on WWE TV.
I'm going with Randy Orton. I think that Randy Orton is going, where he's going to get a couple of RKOs out of nowhere. This is going to be a really physical match, I think. You know, they're going to be outside the ring. You might see the sledgehammer. You might see somebody go through a table. But for some reason, I could see this being the best match on the card, and mainly because it's going to be all Triple H and Randy Orton, planning this match out. It's going to be them. It's not going to be, Vince McMahon telling them how to go. It's going to be them, and I think that they could put a good story together.
Agreed, and I really loved the build-up to the match. I didn't like the video package, as clearly I made clear before, but I did like the build-up, and I loved what they had going on Monday Night Raw. The back and forth that they had. Yeah,
definitely. The next match, Roman Reigns against Shane McMahon with, what's his name? I can't believe I forgot his name. Yes, I'm not a big Drew McIntyre fan either. Drew McIntyre in his corner.
The way that they've built up to this, they've just had Shane McMahon literally beating the shit out of Roman Reigns almost every single week. So I went Roman Reigns. But I would not be surprised to see some interference and some involvement from outside of the ring in Shane McMahon's favor. But I'm still going Roman Reigns. I think he pulls something out.
Yeah, Roman's going to win. There will be interference. Drew McIntyre will get involved. Shane McMahon's going to be going for that coast to coast. And as he's going for it, he's going to get speared out of the middle of nowhere. Like and his body's going to break in half. It's pretty much how it's going to look. And Roman Reigns is going to come away with the win. The next match is the legendary Undertaker against legendary and WWE Hall of Famer Goldberg.
I know that this was like the big match, kind of like the poster child of this pay-per-view, but I'm not excited for this one bit. I do go Undertaker over Goldberg, but I don't think it's going to be an overly exciting match.
I'm with you. It's going to be I think it's going to be a quick 5-minute match. You remember when Goldberg won the title and beat Lesnar in like 3 minutes? It's going to be something like that, I think, because both just aren't in ring shape. And if this was in America, if this match was in one of the big Chicago, Philly, New York, you would hear from the fans how bad this match is going to be. You might not hear it when it's over in Jeddah, but you're right, it's going to be pretty bad.
I agree. That's kind of the mentality I went with. That I just feel like it's going to be a lot like that WrestleMania match between Brock and Goldberg.
All right. So the next two matches that we're going to discuss quickly are the WWE title match and the Universal title match. When you give your prediction, do not say if Brock is going to cash in until we get to the end. At the end, we can discuss that because while we both think he's going to cash in, I think we might have differing views of how he's going to go about it. Agreed?
Agreed. I can live with that.
Okay, so first we're going to go with the WWE Championship. Kofi Kingston against Dolph Ziggler, which this match kind of got thrown out of nowhere like 2 weeks ago. So Who knows what or how the WWE came up with this match? But hey, it's happening on Friday.
I agree. It definitely came out of nowhere, but I don't actually hate the match. I actually like the match. What I hate about it is I really dislike the route they took with Dolph Ziggler. He just seems so whiny. I could have done better. I should have been the champion. I should be you. I don't like that approach that they took with Dolph Ziggler. I think he definitely can be more creative and have a better character than that. I still went Kofi Kingston retains over Dolph Ziggler, but that's not to rule out Ziggler that Kingston and Ziggler could have a good build-up coming over the next couple months heading into Stomping Grounds and beyond. But I just think they got to shift the character. He beats the living daylights out of Kofi Kingston, and then he just basically starts crying about how he should be Kofi Kingston. He could be a better champion. I just don't like that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going with Kofi Kingston. I mean, I know Dolph Ziggler's not happy with his status in the company. I just don't see him winning. Maybe he eventually could win the title. You never know. But it's not going to happen this Sunday. And you're right. This could be a really good match. They're two really athletic, really talented guys. It could be a lot better than what I'm portraying it out to be. But I'm just the way they got to this storyline, the way that it's going all about. You're right. The crying by Dolph Ziggler, and then him just coming out of nowhere to attack Kofi. It feels a little rushed to me.
Agreed. I think they just they realized they need to fill the card out, and Ziggler was ready to come back, and they just kind of threw something together as quickly as they could, and it just looks like a poor creative decision.
Yeah, and they have to have the WWE Championship, defended. All right, the final match, Seth Rollins against Baron Corbin.
I don't hate Baron Corbin. I'm just going to say that right now.
I do.
He's probably my top 10 favorite wrestlers. I just hate him in the main card. I don't think he's a main event wrestler. I love the reaction he gets when he comes in and says, "I'm this city's son," or whatever. I love that reaction. Son. That's great. But I think he's going to lose. I still think Seth Rollins retains over Corbin, and they got to get Corbin out of that. They got to get him in the U.S. title picture. They got to work on his character. They got to work on his creative. There's a lot of work to be done with Baron Corbin to make him better and to push him into the main event picture. It's probably just a Vince McMahon really likes Baron Corbin, and he's just going to push him every chance he gets.
I said it earlier. I cannot stand Baron Corbin. They keep shoving him down our throats, and it's so annoying. I have no idea why, but he is not beating Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is going to show up on Friday, and he's going to be limping down the aisle, and he's going to look hurt, but he's going to come away with the win. I wouldn't be shocked if Corbin got some help from maybe I don't know if Lashley would come out and help him or whatever, because Lashley has his own match, but it wouldn't shock me if somebody came out to try to help Corbin, but it won't work, and Seth Rollins is going to come away with the victory. Now, the Brock Lesnar cash-in. Does it happen, and how does it happen if he is going to cash in?
I say it's happening, and I think it's happening after the Rollins and Corbin match. I think, like you said, the potential interference of somebody from the outside in Corbin's corner, and the physicality of Corbin will really beat Rollins down, who is already not at 100%, and Brock Lesnar's going to cash in, and I think he comes away at a Super Showdown with the Universal Championship in hand.
So you think maybe if Rollins comes away with the victory at the end, and then Baron Corbin just starts beating the holy hell out of Seth Rollins, and then Brock comes out, cashes in, gets the title?
Yeah, I think it's going to be basic just because of the build-up they've had to all of this. I just feel like it's just going to be a basic cash-in. I don't see anything overly exciting coming out of it.
Okay. I also think Brock is cashing in, but he's cashing in on Kofi Kingston.
Interesting.
Because Fox wants the stars. SmackDown's going to Fox. Lesnar is, as much as he's not there a lot and people can't stand him, he is the biggest star other than John Cena in the WWE. So at the end of the Kofi Ziggler match, Ziggler or even Kevin Owens could come out and Sami Zayn won't be there. Kevin Owens could come out and Ziggler, they could team up on Kofi. Even if Xavier Woods and Big E, if Big E's back, they could come out. It won't matter because Brock is going to come out and cash in on Kofi Kingston and become the WWE champion so that he has the belt going in to Fox's SmackDown Live run on Friday nights starting in October.
I don't deny that either. I think, like, obviously if it's going to be a cash in favor of SmackDown, I definitely can picture that, especially for Fox and leading on an extensive run that goes through Stomping Grounds and through to SummerSlam and into the Friday night Fox introduction. I wouldn't be surprised to see that either. I just think there's been so much focus on Seth Rollins. I find it hard to believe that they don't just make that happen. They've been driving that rivalry for so long that I just don't see it not going the other direction. But I do see the side.
But and that's why I think that they're going to go, because everybody thinks he's going to cash in on Seth. And, what gets you talking is when something happens that you don't expect. And nobody is expecting him to cash in on Kofi Kingston. So if it happens, if there is any, water cooler talk around the wrestling community, you're going to see all the tweets about, oh my God, Brock cashed in on Kofi. Kofi's not the champion anymore. That's going to be real heat, more heat on Brock. And then we get to see, Kofi trying to go after the chase again, which when he was going after the chase, when Vince kept putting him through the gauntlet to try to become the number one contender before he won the title, everybody was into it. That's what I think the WWE needs again. And this is a great way for it to happen.
I agree. They definitely need to build some excitement around those two championships again. There's just so limited around it right now, and they've done so well with Lesnar and building excitement and intrigue around the Money in the Bank briefcase. So they definitely have to do that again, especially not even just one, both of the titles.
All the titles, all 11 titles. Actually, the only one that's going well right now is the 24/7 championship because R-Truth is so great, with the way he portrays it, and they need to not mess that up. All right, so before we go, what's one storyline going into the summer season, going into Stomping Ground and Extreme Rules and especially SummerSlam? What is the storyline you want to see the WWE play out, move forward with?
The one I have is pushing the women's tag division. We haven't really talked much about the women in this episode, mostly because they're not involved in Super ShowDown. But I think that the WWE has a really good thing going with the Iconics. I really like the Iconics.
I disagree.
I think they do. I kind of like. I don't like where they're going, how they continuously have the Iconics, one of the two Iconics getting pinned and losing. But I think that they can really push the women's tag division. They can take the Iconics and their personalities and basically throw any group. Like, look at all the women's tag teams that are just out there, and nothing's happening. It's like the women's revolution's completely ended and just died. And I think that even if it's not with the Iconics, I think that they can definitely do some things with the women's tag team division.
I like when Bayley and Sasha Banks had the women's tag team titles, that they were good for them. When the Iconics got it, it was more of a joke. I think if they want the women tag team titles to mean something, they need to get it off the Iconics. Give it to Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Give it. I don't even know if Sasha Banks decides to come back. Her and Bayley can get back together, or have Becky and Bayley tag team together, have them win the titles. They could have the tag titles and both women titles. I think that would be an intriguing storyline. Maybe even Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. I think anybody would be better than the Iconics. I can't stand the Iconics. That's just me.
They must be doing their job right then.
Probably guess so. But it's just like when you have the Raw tag team titles, which we haven't seen for a month and a half, and when was the last time the Iconics defended the women tag team titles? When the last time the SmackDown tag team titles were defended? I know that Daniel Bryan has them. Daniel Bryan Rowan have them, but it's like they're not being defended. I thought there used to be that rule that a title had to be defended within every 30 days, and then Brock Lesnar had the Universal title and defended it like twice a year. It's just frustrating.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the fact that there's if the brand split is ended, they definitely got to get rid of some titles. 11 titles is a lot of titles.
I do think that if they do end the brand split, which I think they want to do, they're gonna unify the women's titles. They're gonna unify the Universal and the heavyweight title. They'll unify the tag titles, which is what they need to do, so that you have it, so that since Fox is going on a different network, instead of having two different shows that are under the same umbrella WWE company but are separate, you can have the superstars going on both shows, so they can be on both USA Network and on Fox, so you get exposure both ways. So I do eventually think they're going to unify some of the titles and to somewhat do away with the brand split.
Absolutely, I agree. I don't think it would hurt to do away with the brand split, because as of right now, the way that they're running that wildcard rule is out of control, and I don't think Vince McMahon understands what he's doing with the wildcard rule.
Yeah, because it's the same 4 to 5 superstars every week. And while I like to see Roman Reigns on both shows, or I like to see Alexa Bliss on both shows, it is getting old. It's getting really old.
Like I said, maybe it's just the fact that it's Super Showdown and they're just trying to push that card. But at the same time, if it is, they really, because of the AEW show, hurt themselves in the lead up to Super Showdown.
I agree. All right, so before we finish off here, this is the first episode of the People's Take. What is one thing you want to get out of us doing this segment, for the time being, before and probably after pay-per-views for the WWE? What's one thing that you're hoping to get out of this show and that you want our listeners to get out of it? I'm
just hoping to grow the reach of the Always Next Year podcast. I think that we were so focused on the teams in Philadelphia, and I think this is a good opportunity to go branch out into such a massive community like we talked about. And I definitely can't wait to keep having People's Takes episodes, and eventually someday maybe they even become a weekly show. Yeah, I hope so. We'll definitely see if we can get a good outreach to our Always Next Year fans and to the wrestling community, if they enjoy what we're speaking about, given our point of views here on the People's Take when it comes to the WWE. We'll definitely be able to go to a weekly show. All right, so I think for our first episode, I think that went really well. WWE Super ShowDown is this Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern time, which would be 3 p.m. for you, I think. Yep. 3 p.m. up where you are in Canada. I'll be at work, but I'm definitely going to have the WWE Network up. They'll probably have the pre-show starting at 1, I would assume, is my guess, if they even have a pre-show. But the card is interesting nonetheless. But, we should see some things play out. Just possibly see a Brock cash in. And I think it'll be interesting. And the next time we speak, we should have a couple things to talk about, and it'll be a lot of fun. Absolutely. I can't wait. All right. You can follow Connor on Twitter at Connor10. That's Connor Ten. You can follow me at LJ Harrell 54. You can follow the Always Next Year podcast at ANY Podcast, all on Twitter. You can subscribe to us at www.alwaysnextyearpodcast.com and review us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, wherever you're listening to us from. Please review us, or Rob will come and find you. For Connor, I'm LJ. Thank you for listening to the People's Take here on the Always Next Year podcast.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and so jiggle my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son, still have me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.